Is it just me, or are you also completely confused about what we're supposed to be doing for our health these days? Because according to several videos I've seen lately, drinking coffee on an empty stomach spikes your cortisol and can lead to weight gain or the inability to lose the weight that you've been trying to lose. So after hearing this enough times, I finally thought, oh, for heaven's sakes, is my coffee trying to kill me now as well? So I Googled it. And what I found wasn't nearly as dramatic as what I've been hearing on social media. Yes, caffeine can temporarily raise cortisol. Cortisol also rises naturally in the morning as part of the process that helps us wake up. Normal bodily function. But from what I could find, there was simply no good evidence for that sweeping claim that drinking coffee on an empty stomach is going to keep your cortisol dangerously high and make you gain weight.
But the more I looked into this whole, little thing about the coffee claim, I realized that it really wasn't the coffee that was bothering me. It was the fact that I had started questioning something that I've been doing quite happily for most of my life, simply because I'd heard the same warning over and over again. And it made me wonder, when did trying to be healthy turn into being afraid or worrying about everything? Especially as women getting older. Have you noticed how much we're being told that we need to worry about or think about? Like cortisol and inflammation and insulin and glucose spikes and hormones, metabolism, gut health, muscle loss, bone loss, intermittent fasting, and all the advice, don't eat too early, don't eat too late, fast, but not that way. Eat more protein. Oh my gosh, the protein. Take these supplements, and whatever you do, for the love of God, don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. At this stage of life, I feel like I need a flowchart before I'm allowed to even have my breakfast. And I'm not making fun of taking care of our health, not at all. I'm actually very interested in it and always have been. I want to stay strong and mobile and, have energy. I want to be around for a long time. And I want those years to be good ones. And of course, there are some fundamentals that we know really matter as we age, particularly. Maintaining muscle matters, movement matters. What we eat obviously really matters. Sleep very much matters. Going to the doctor when something doesn't feel right matters, although I need to work on that. And I'm not suggesting we throw all that out the window and live on chocolate and Cabernet, although that certainly would simplify my grocery shopping. But what I'm questioning is whether we've somehow turned healthy aging into another, full-time job. There's always something else that we're supposed to be monitoring or trying to optimize. And there always seems to be another powder or pill or program or protocol that's going to fix whatever it is that we've been told is wrong with us now. And that's where I think we might need to become a little more discerning. Because fear gets our attention. Coffee may temporarily increase cortisol under certain circumstances. That isn't exactly going to stop you from scrolling, is it? But women over 50, stop drinking coffee on an empty stomach. Now you've got my attention. Or at least for me. It made me think. And especially if you've also been told that it's responsible for the extra 10 pounds that I've been fighting to lose since menopause. And sometimes, not always of course, but sometimes, once you've convinced me that I have a problem of some sort, conveniently there's something that I can buy to solve it. Now that does not mean automatically that the person giving advice is dishonest. And it doesn't mean that the product, that whatever it is that they're selling doesn't work. But I do think it's a good reason to ask maybe a few more questions. All of this made me think about the blue zones. Do you remember that? They became famous because of the number of people reportedly living unusually long, healthy lives. I found it really interesting. Now, there has been some debate about the longevity claims behind the blue zones thing, so I don't take every part of it as gospel, of course, but there was something about that whole way of living that always stayed with me. Just resonated, I guess. These weren't people generally that were spending hours in the gym, working out constantly, and they weren't eating only foods that they had to weigh and measure and entered into an app first. They just moved naturally. They walked, they gardened, they ate fairly simple foods. They had purpose and family and friends around them. They laughed and they belonged to some sort of community. They rested, and yes, they even enjoyed a glass of wine or two in some of the cultures. They weren't spending their entire day trying to figure out ways to live longer. They were just living. And that's the part I keep coming back to. Sometimes I wonder if we're trying so hard to add years to our lives that we're forgetting to put life into our years. If I have to spend a couple hours every morning optimizing my longevity routine, I do wonder a little bit when I'm supposed to enjoy this longer life that I'm working so hard to get. I don't want to spend the next 20 years worrying that every cup of coffee, every piece of bread, every missed workout or imperfect night's sleep is doing irreparable damage to my body. I just don't want to do it. I want to take care of myself, of course, but I also want to enjoy myself. I want to eat the food that makes me feel good and that I really enjoy. I love my glass of wine. I want to laugh and spend time with people I love and have things to look forward to. And sometimes I want to sit quietly in the morning and drink my coffee while I look out the window before I've eaten anything. And I think there's a difference between being informed about our bodies and being taught to fear them. Our bodies are changing. Of course they are. But that doesn't mean that every change is a problem that needs fixing, or that every person on the internet who identifies some kind of problem has the answer. So I've made this little rule for myself. When something online suddenly makes me wonder or worried about something that I've been doing especially happily for years, I'm not going to panic. I'm just going to get curious. Where did the information actually come from? Is there good evidence behind it? Are we taking a normal, temporary response that the body has and making it sound frightening? And is somebody trying to sell me the solution? There's an enormous amount of valuable information available to us now. And I am grateful for that. I just don't want to spend the rest of my life afraid of my own body. So tomorrow morning, just like today, I'm having my morning coffee before breakfast. And if somebody discovers next week that drinking my coffee while looking at my beautiful view out this window raises my cortisol by another 3%, I don't want to know. Well, actually, that's not true. I'll probably Google it. But then I'm going to come back to the things that matter most and actually enjoy the life that I'm working so hard to keep healthy for. Because maybe healthy aging doesn't have to be quite as complicated as we've made it. Now I'm curious. Have you heard so much conflicting health advice out there lately that you generally just don't know what to believe anymore? Have you stopped eating or drinking or doing something because, social media maybe convinced you that it was bad for you? I'd really like to hear what you think. And, in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. If you feel called to, I would so much appreciate a like, a subscribe, or a hype. It really helps this little channel so very much. Thanks again. And remember, keep following the fireflies.